Good morning, everyone, and welcome to June's monthly conversation. I'm Patrice Fife, and this is
Maybe Stewart Sasher.
Yeah, go ahead, introduce herself. And we are the co-chairs of programming. We're so excited that you have joined us. We want to give our virtual audience as well as those are in person. And today, we have a couple announcements we'd like to make before we actually get started.
So just a reminder that the awards applications are due July 2nd, so that's a Friday. So if you haven't gotten those in, go ahead and work on those and get those submitted, as well as our annual conference is coming up August 19th. That's a Thursday, so mark your calendars for that. We're excited to be in person, as well as hopefully have a hybrid option for that as well.
And the deadline for the applications are when?
July 2nd is the deadline for applications.
Thank you. And without further ado, we'd like to introduce Amy Utterback. Amy is the Director of Market Development at SentryHealth. She is a University of Louisville alumni, a lifelong Louisvillian, and she's passionate about helping organizations combat our country's healthcare crisis and embracing an integrated approach to well-being. Today's conversation, our focuses will be on preparing for the future of workplace health and well-being. In this conversation, we will explore why traditional wellness programs don't work, the 4 elements that are needed for a good health and well-being strategy, and concluding with how WellOnMyWay addresses those issues. Without further ado, we'd like to introduce to you.
I'm great to be here in an in-person setting, kind of, in a virtually. And those of you who are at home, good morning. I wish I could see your faces, but slow baby steps, right? Moving toward something closer to normal. And if you're at home, I will have to step over and advance my laptop every now and then. So just check out the nice slides and don't worry so much about me. So wanted to begin this morning, and you can hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. Wanted to begin this morning by telling you a little bit about SentryHealth if you're not familiar with us. We were founded in 2011, and we really started out in the employee health clinic space. We operated there for several years. We started developing programs around chronic disease management when we were there to really help our clinic partner clinic partner clients, to help affect those, really high cost driving diseases. Our time that we spent there in clinic management really informed us about some of the gaps that exist in health and well-being for employers and employees. And we really recognized a need for innovation and saw really an opportunity for ourselves. So the outcome of that was we developed something called WellOnMyWay. And WellOnMyWay, it has been a complete pivot for SentryHealth. It is a turnkey solution for health and well-being, aimed at really making the entire process a lot easier, both for the employee and the employer. So with that being said, just want to take a second to introduce our executive team. These folks, we're a Louisville-based company. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, and all of these folks have a really strongly rooted base here in Louisville. With that being said, they also carry about 50 years combined or more experience in healthcare analytics and program management as well. So what I did not say is that I'm also a certified yoga instructor, and technology freaks me out. And so we're okay though, but I do want to take a second. I'm going to ask you guys to play along, let everybody stand up. And if you're at home, I'm trusting that you're going to do this. So for just a second, let's just start our day. We're moving into the weekend. Everybody take your arms up overhead, deep inhale. Maybe you look up between your hands, upward salutes. Maybe hands come behind your head. Take a nice little back bend. Open the heart towards the sky. Deep inhale. And as you exhale, bring your gaze forward. Slowly bring arms down. Hands come to your hips. Let's take a little twist to your right. Little twist to your left. interlace the hands, press those palms forward. And then we're gonna open up and have a seat. Thanks. So do that a few times during the day. My coworkers walk by and I'm always stretching. Next time you have me, if I get invited back, let's do an entire like yoga class. Okay. So just a little icebreaker, right? To not take ourselves too seriously. I like to have fun and not be too stuffy. So 2020 has really proved to be a difficult year, understatement of the century for us and for employees alike. You know, we've seen a lot of need to adapt and we've done that. You know, we've seen changes in the workforce, changes in work settings, and our health and well-being programs, you know, we've had to really consider how we're using them, right? They've been disrupted in a lot of ways. But we've also really, I think all of that challenge really presents a lot of opportunity as well. So I want this to be a really interactive conversation. You don't want to just listen to me talk for 60 minutes. So I hope you guys will play along and we can have some good conversation. But I wanted to start with a few questions for the audience. And if you're at home, I think you're going to be able to, you know, chat in and Candace will read your answers aloud. But first question, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your employees' physical, mental, and financial health? Anyone?
I'll go. So physically, I think moving out of the workplace, which is way more ergonomic than people's home offices, that was really difficult. Mentally, we saw a lot of mental health claims come through, a lot of antidepressants, a lot of anti-anxiety meds, which we're really happy that they were finding that for themselves. But I think there were probably a ton of people also that really needed to find more resources. We pushed EAP a ton. And we also brought in our financial advisor to do a lot of lunch and learns, because I think financially people are struggling.
Yeah, doing that via like Zoom or something like that.
Yeah, luckily we didn't have many layoffs, but I know that's not how a lot of other places, you know, ended up. So, yeah.
Great. Anybody else want to contribute? So at SentryHealth, we conducted a survey toward the end of 2020. We were curious about, you know, what you guys, wellness operators, employers, what you were doing and, you know, and how 2020 was affecting you. So we conducted a survey and we released those results at the beginning of 2021. I actually have some copies of that survey if you guys are interested in taking one home with you today. If you're listening from home, we will be sending out some attachments and some information to you guys as well. But wanted to, you know, this was one of the questions that we asked in that survey. So wanted to just share quickly some of the results. And some of these things I'm going to have to read because it's just like, you know, not sticking in there. So just over 3/4 of the respondents said that COVID had definitely affected employees' physical health in some way. 86% said that COVID had at least some effect on employee mental health. 49% said that employee financial health had been somewhat affected, but then an additional 7% said that they felt that their employees' financial health had been very much affected by COVID. You know, even if we were able to come through COVID with our job in place, right, with our company still on pretty solid footing, it might have affected other elements of our lives, right? We'll talk some more about that here in just a second. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that you said, right? All of those same effects. And then from your all's perspective, how has the workplace changed because of COVID? Yeah. I mean, how many people are, did anybody not have anyone change as far as work from home versus?
Well, a utility company,
Yeah.
so
kind of you'll address that.
You won't lose your day.
so they continued, I mean, they had 24/7 operations, so I think they just had to do the policies and they did the social distancing and they did the mask, but those people never got to stay home, out in the field, so they just had to manage, you know, based on, you know, changing based on operational needs, but yeah, still going into customers' homes, even when COVID was happening. And then you had the other part of the workforce that was home. So for us, it was managing both people, the people that were at home and the people that never. Yeah. So that was the additional challenge for, you know, people that could not stay home.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, hybrid approaches had to come into play. We, you know, really had to think on our feet and pivot a whole lot. And if anybody from home has any responses, just shout them out. Okay. And then lastly, and then I'll talk a little bit. You guys will be off the hook for a couple minutes. But have you changed your health and well-being strategy because of COVID? and how? Like any examples that you could
At
share?
least I'm sleeping good on that air mattress.
Telehealth is a big one.
Yes.
You know,
It's not very
utilizing telehealth, and
I mean, it's
before there wasn't
but
a huge
for whatever reason.
amount of people, you know, utilizing that, and I think that just, you know, pretty much exploded. That talk about the EAP and
Use the
how
restroom,
important
know what
that
my
is.
dog.
Employees knowing
Oh, so,
services to utilize.
apparently
What's available to them?
now,
Yeah, yeah.
Taylor's not like.
Things that were maybe available before, but I know telehealth has been available on my health plan for a while, but I never used it before this year.
Yeah, most people, I don't think most people had, it wasn't, you know, heavily utilized. I mean, it was becoming more prevalent, but, you know, it kind of exploded once COVID.
Right.
Like,
Exactly. You know, it's difficult to tell what will continue to be the trends and what the long-term effects of COVID-19 are going to be on our health. But I mean, it's safe to assume we've all kind of said, I mean, you guys basically going to give my presentation. COVID, you know, the effects have been vast and they've really affected a lot of different aspects of our lives. So at the beginning of the pandemic, perfect segue, thank you. So at the beginning of the pandemic, back in class, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This is Candace here. For you guys that are logged in virtually, could you please put yourselves on mute? Because we're getting background noise from you, and I'm the only one that can actually hear you guys in virtual. So please jump to the chat if you have any questions for Amy.
Thank you, I should have.
No, that's okay. Well, thanks to everyone for bearing with us, like bearing with us as we get through this.
And we continue to figure out how to use technology. Okay, so at the height of the pandemic, people couldn't access their doctors. And I think still maybe there's some hesitancy for a lot of people around, you know, receiving non-urgent in-person care, depending on what your situation is and your risk factors. So perfect segue, you know, we really started to lean a lot into digital and virtual care solutions. And I think that's something that we're gonna, you know, a trend that we're gonna continue to see perpetuated because we've realized how easy that is. It's not always appropriate, right? If I need to see a specialist, I need to see a specialist. But, you know, if I just don't feel great, how much more convenient is it to be able to log in and talk to my care physician? And then that makes me more willing to, you know, really access a lot of my care options virtually. Obviously, the lack of social connection that we've experienced has had a vast impact on all of us. Over 50% of Americans admit that COVID-19 and the shutdown affected their mental health negatively. And you hit it on the head. I read that antidepressants, instances of prescribing antidepressants increased by 14% during 2021. So that's just one statistic. Of course, you read, you know, different ones, and it could be even more than that. But you know, I think again, we started to see a sharp increase in virtual solutions. People needed to feel connected, right? I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks working from home. We spend so much of our time at work, you know, and we shut down in a lot of ways, but we spend so much time at work. You know, our work is like an extension of our family. We get so much of our camaraderie and just like sanity from being around people. So we really, employers, I started to see really leaning into and looking for different virtual solutions, both out of just business necessity, but also really to establish a sense of connectivity. And I think businesses are still looking for those, you know, ways to pull together the different pieces. Financially, a lot of people were impacted. I would say almost all of us were somewhat impacted. And as I mentioned a minute ago, even if you were fortunate enough that your personal income wasn't affected, you know, a lot of times our spouses might have been, our partner might have been, you know, income coming into our home might have been impacted. I work with my husband is a salesperson. You know, it wasn't great, you know, for the economy for him for a while. We also, a lot of us have incurred additional expenses that we hadn't really thought about, you know, childcare costs and additional health expenses. And, you know, now we're experiencing inflation. So, you know, I think financial resources for our employees that, you know, free resources that they wouldn't otherwise have access to are becoming increasingly important as well. And then, you know, lastly, as we start to move back into person, right, we're here in a room together, but some of our friends want to still, you know, join us virtually. So there is, I think, still a lot of anxiety around the idea of coming back into the office place. So, all of these things are challenges for us and have been challenges for us that many of them we are working to overcome still, but it also presents a lot of opportunity as we move forward. So going back to that survey that we conducted, just a few things that I wanted to share. 84% of those that we surveyed said that they are supplying some form of employee health and wellbeing program. We wanted to understand, really what the major motivating factors there were. 62% responded that they wanted to improve overall well-being, while another 25% said that really the goal was to lower costs, to affect healthcare costs. And then there are the cost drivers. Rising healthcare cost is pretty much a concern for most organizations. So we asked questions around, what are the major cost drivers in your organization? This is, of all of the questions on the entire survey, the responses that surprised me the most. 34% said that they were unsure. And then the rest of those responses, fall in line with what I would expect. Every organization is going to be a little bit different, but musculoskeletal, mental health, cancer, diabetes, we probably all agree that those things are, mental health maybe on the rise there as far as a cost driver. So 2020 presented a number of challenges for employers and employees alike. And as we move into 2021, I find that a lot of those challenges are still going to be top of mind. So just, real quick, what do you see as your biggest health and wellbeing challenge in 2021?
Getting people to get their preventative care that they get the previous year. They're behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that same thing.
Yeah, and what are you guys doing to try to promote that? Begging.
Yeah.
Begging and pleading.
Marketing biometrics and.
Yeah.
Awareness and.
Are you incentivizing it all?
We require biometrics. We waived it last year because of the pandemic, but this year we tell people in order to get the lower medical premium, biometrics is part of that.
Yeah.
So we actually did biometrics last year. Wow. Which was surprising. We did on-site biometrics and we did on-site flu shots.
You did.
Even during the
Just staggering.
even though we were closed, we still did them.
Yeah.
And the thing is we really had really good participation. Even though, and we did have an incentive. So, there was an incentive piece to it, but we still had pretty good participation. So, we'll continue.
Well, I think you find if you, maybe approach it the right way with a staggered approach, people might have been excited to get out of their house. I would have probably.
I think they were.
I was looking for any reason to get out of my sweatpants last year. So.
I think the other thing too is just thinking about, because I was just saying to Patrice as we got here, so I work out here.
Yeah.
But I didn't work out for a year, which was the first time I hadn't in a long time since college. So, I think that's the other thing is just getting people mentally, we're talking about mental, not just mental illness, just stress and all the other things that are there. And just to get back into the regular routine. It isn't just coming back to work, it's coming back into all the other things that you may have done at a point. And, maybe I'm the only one that didn't come back and start working out right away, but, I was doing other things, biking and, playing other sports and whatever. But the fact is that I think that's, to me, I would see that as the biggest thing, is just getting people back into a routine of thinking about health and wellness, not just, oh my God, what's going on with this
Well,
pandemic.
there's stress still around that, right?
Right.
So people still feel uncomfortable coming to the gym or coming to the yoga studio or whatever. And I think that a lot of us are going to continue to experience a new normal. People that started biking and trail running might not come back to the gym. So that makes a whole other argument for gyms and fitness centers. But again, another day. And this was another question that came from our survey. Just real quickly, 31%, the majority of people said, and again, this survey was conducted at the end of 2020, like right at the height of everything. So 31% of their number one concern was COVID-19, not surprising at all. But right behind that was, concern with employee participation, which I think we're kind of hearing elements of as well. And then 11%, we're still concerned about program costs. And then, so what are your number one priorities for health and wellbeing this year? and moving into 2022 as you're planning out? Do you guys change your priorities every year, or do you feel like from a health and wellbeing standpoint, it's pretty stagnant every year?
I mean, I was gonna say engagement, which is probably still what it was prior. I mean, it may be a different viewpoint of engagement, but
You're so good, Matt. You're so good. Yes. So what I'm going to say is that you know, the challenges are going to change over time. We hope that next year we're not talking about. Oh, and I forgot to share my statistics. I'll just share that now. I'll go into my next spiel, but yeah, that's what we found. Lowering healthcare costs, COVID-19. Some folks were going to be rolling out new wellbeing solutions last year. Obviously, that's always a huge undertaking. And then additional priorities around, you know, chronic disease management, productivity, absenteeism, you know, reducing, making our program, getting the most out of our programs that we can. So at the bottom, we're kind of saying ROI, right? This is soft ROI, ROI, and COVID. So cost and engagement. So over time, I think that hopefully COVID will not be as large of a priority. I hope if we do the survey in 2 years, we won't see it on there at all, right? But I do think, you know, engagement and costs were a concern pre-pandemic. They're a concern during the pandemic. I think those are going to be trends that we continue to see as major concerns in health and well-being as we move forward. So the problem with a lot of traditional health and wellness programs is management programs is they really have trouble addressing these three areas. You know, how many, just quick show of hands in the room, how many people here for your health and well-being program are utilizing a vendor, like outsourcing part of it? Do you use 2 or more, 3 or more? Yeah. So the problem a lot of times when you're utilizing multiple vendors is they will be, those vendors are communicating with your employees. They're obviously not coordinating that communication. So employees are getting a lot of emails and maybe mailers and whatever from all these different sources. There's no coordination like I talked about, and it gets to be very confusing and overwhelming. And I promise you, your engagement suffers because it feels like a job. So, you know, that's a real challenge of a lot of the traditional wellness programs. Program management also becomes, you know, really difficult. If you are using multiple vendors, and you know, I'm not gonna, we're kind of running short on time, but I'd love to talk about like how you guys are managing all of that. But my experience in talking to wellness folks at organizations, you know, a lot of times there's like multiple spreadsheets, which to me sounds like a personal hell. I hate them. You know, they're managing on spreadsheets. For organizations that have homegrown health and wellness programs, especially organizations that are, you know, mid-sized to small. You know, if you're Toyota, you probably have a team of, you know, 2 or 3 wellness people that can strictly focus on that. You know, but if you're, you know, a mid-sized organization, it's usually one HR person focused on that. You might have some help from, you know, your broker or whatever, but you're really designing that in-house, and you probably have other responsibilities. So what I end up seeing is that we have the best of intentions, but other priorities always come up, and, you know, your engagement suffers, program management just becomes overwhelming. And then lastly, workplace culture. And this is kind of like one of those hot button terms, but a lot of people will say that it is the most important factor in having a successful health and well-being program. It's also maybe one of the hardest things to affect, right? It takes time and effort. You know, we're talking about really having your health and well-being embraced from the top down. So your executive management on through middle management, which I think kind of gets left out of that scenario a lot of times, need to really not just say, okay, we offer this, here it is, it's a thing, but really embrace it as part of your cultural identity, part of your corporate identity and culture, right? Takes time, takes effort, but the organizations that we see that really effectively are able to achieve that are the ones that we see with the, you know, the greatest results from their health and well-being efforts. You know, and when I talk to people about like trying to get management to really embrace that, I think we're hearing a lot right now about having difficulty recruiting good employees, right? So my personal thing that I do lately, I go, when I'm on our website, I like to go to the careers page and just kind of check out how dynamic the careers page is. And it's interesting to me the people that I think have the most dynamic careers page, right? They're selling themselves to prospects. always talk about health and well-being as a priority of the culture of their company. And it really speaks to, especially younger professionals coming into the workforce, people want to feel like you want to invest in them professionally, but also as a person, as a human being. So consider those kind of tools, and consider that like we need to be able to recruit the best of the best, and achieving a better workplace culture is one way to really effectively do that. So as we move out of the pandemic and get back to something closer to normal, and kind of tiptoe and dip our toe into normal, we realize that employees are really looking to us more than probably they have ever before. They want to get back to a new sense of normal. They want to get back on track with health and wellness, but they really need tools to be able to do that. And also that navigating healthcare in general can be very overwhelming and confusing. And so they're really looking to employers for help navigating that. And from the employer standpoint, kind of the same thing as probably year over year, engagement is of concern, as well as return on investment in your health and well-being program, and lowering healthcare costs. So how do we overcome these challenges? And I talked for a long time to get to the meat of what we're going to talk about today, which is the 4 key components to really successful health and well-being strategy. Now, the first is actionable insights. So it all starts with data. First, you really have to understand your employee population. So, I mentioned a few slides ago that in our survey, 34% of people said that they could not tell me what the top cost drivers of their organization are. If you are not using data to drive, to organize, to drive, and to evaluate your program, then you are really missing out on opportunity. And we'll talk some more about that in a second. The second is to take a personalized approach. And I know that you guys are all wellness people in this room, and I'm preaching to the choir when I say this, but personalization goes beyond the name at the beginning of the video. And a lot of health and wellbeing management companies don't do anything other than have a algorithm to know your first name to plug it into the email that they're sending you. Personalization goes to really understanding the needs of your employees and providing the programs and services that they need when they need them. It is not offering me a non-diabetic a diabetes program. So, my SentryHealth email address all the time, I will get emails from people who want me to do something, right? They want to schedule a meeting with me. They want to maybe try to sell me something. They want me to sit through a demo. But I can tell very quickly in reading the email that they have no idea either what SentryHealth does, and or they don't understand what my role at the company is. And so I just delete the email, and it's no big deal, but it really resonates with me because, I'm sure that what they have is a good product, and I'm sure that they are well-meaning. They want to help someone with this product that is a good product, but they are just barking at the wrong tree with it. So, and people don't always love for me to use that analogy where we're trying to sell, but we are trying to sell the idea of employees spending their time and effort and energy on living a healthier lifestyle. We have to think about it like, how do we market that to them almost and get them involved? And then next up, the next key driver is interactive technology is very important as well. I just mentioned, I feel like benefits are really hard to navigate. Employees are looking for us to make it really easy for them to access. And I feel like if we don't make wellbeing solutions easy to access, we're creating roadblocks to utilization. And then lastly, providing dynamic programs and services. So using evidence-based programs and services that cover a wide variety of health and wellness related issues. So, physical is of course important, but also mental, financial, care planning, that sort of thing. All of these are very important. But when you're providing those solutions, they also really need to be backed up by expert, human touch. So I'm a little bit talking out of both sides of my mouth there because I just told you how important technology is, but really a hybrid approach that combines technology and expert, service and coaching is really important as well. So what I want to do now is dive a little bit deeper into these key components and talk about them from the perspective of how we have built Well on My Way around these 4 key components. And again, I talked about Well on My Way a minute ago, but it's a turnkey solution for your health and well-being program. It's really driven to not just provide a really easy solution for people to engage with their health and well-being, but to really drive utilization and engagements on an ongoing perspective. So with that being said, let's dive on in. So actionable insights, I said it a second ago, it all starts with data. So you should be using information in your planning process as you are implementing, as you are operating, and as you evaluate the success of your health and well-being program. By really digging into information, you can get a clearer picture of your employee base, right? And you can really decide what types of programs and services you need to be offering. And you can be looking at reporting that goes into chronic disease factors. You can look at biometric trending, clinical and financial outcomes, and ROI calculations. But by having that robust data and analytics reporting, you're able to really also personalize the experience for employees, which results in better utilization and satisfaction. Excuse me. So I need a drink. So quick question for you guys. I know that the industry is really expanding on ability to ask questions and bring in meaningful data beyond just a typical HRA. Are you guys using any types of additional data in your decision-making process? No? Well, okay. We'll talk about that. So from SentryHealth's perspective, if you can't tell, we think that this is really important. We think that using information and understanding your employee base is completely vital. So in order to get a full picture of your employee base, we examine a lot of different resources. So we have an NCQA certified HRA that we deploy. We also have a lifestyle assessment as well as a mental health assessment that we deploy. And then we're pairing that information with things like claims data. You want to look at your pharmacy, you want to look at your medical claims data, you want to look at medical history when we can get a hold of that for employees. We want to look at, I feel like I'm leaving stuff out. Demographic information, cultural information from your organization. We compile all of that to create a unique employee profile for each of your employees. So every single employee is unique, their medical history is unique, what motivates them is unique, and we create a profile around that. And then that profile drives pretty much the entire, it's like the engine of our organization. So that will decide the types of programs that you physically see in our portal when we get to that here in a few minutes, but it also informs how we communicate with the individual employee. So the easiest example is I'm not diabetic, but my company might offer a diabetes program. I should not see a diabetes program when I log in. That's like the easiest way to look at it, right? And then from the employer side, we also provide a lot of reporting information. We want to help you to be able to make your business decisions. We want to help you be able to pinpoint trends, to understand cost drivers, right? To be able to plan not just your wellbeing program, but really a lot of your business operations around the information and analytics that we're able to provide to you. And we also provide a lot of transparency. We think it's important that you see truly how much utilization you're getting, truly how much engagement you're getting. And I should caveat that by saying, think about what engagement means to you. And when you're using other vendors, question what is engagement when I'm working with you, right? A lot of folks count engagement as it's January 1 and we notify your employee base that you're providing this service and they input their email address. So they are engaged all year, 2020, engaged, right? Because they linked their Apple Watch. So they're engaged every day, right? Because I wear my Apple Watch every day, I'm engaged with that program. You should pay for it. We consider engagements based more on utilization. So we do incentivize for doing things like connecting your Apple Watch and completing the HRA, but you are not engaged unless you are actively enrolled in some kind of program to better yourself and you are meeting milestones. The next of our 4 keys is a personalized outreach and guidance. You know, I think there used to maybe be an idea of set it and forget it around health and well-being. And I think that we recognize that that really doesn't work. The people in the room have talked about trying to find ways to really get people actively involved. So, and, you know, and I think that's you know, something that's really understood. So taking a really personalized approach, as I mentioned a few times, is really important. You know, Gallup tells us that engaged employees will have a 41% reduction in absenteeism, 17% increase in productivity, and are 59% less likely to turn over. So having that thoughtful, high-touch outreach through multiple channels really tends to drive higher engagement. Anybody want to chime in with ways that you are trying to personalize your outreach to employees and let them feel like you see them? No, no one's got anything.
I had a question,
Yeah, you do.
or actually just a comment. One thing I saw, and it's more or less what you shouldn't do, I guess, and when you employ a program like this, is when you have management that's at the top, and then you don't, if you implement the program and just like I said, set it and forget it, and don't engage middle management, upper management, everybody has a goal to further that down to the employees and help them to understand it's okay. Amazon, actually, there was I had a little article in LinkedIn recently, and I was like, oh yeah, hit it on the head, because if you don't have the engagement of all the players and parts that are going to drive the program, then you're not going to have the engagement of the employees, and they're not going to feel like they should.
Right.
And so they said, basically, you have to absolutely promote it all the time and show that you want them to use it by providing time for them to go do whatever it is. And that's a huge thing.
Well, that makes a good incentive too. You know, for a lot of people, budget's a concern, so incentives become like, oh, we want to offer incentives, but how do we afford that? We like to get creative with incentives. Like, we like to encourage creative incentives, like, you know, give them a good parking spot, give them an extra day of PTO, give them time off doing work to achieve these things. So yeah, great idea, great idea. If I had to pick one of the 4 keys that I think WellOnMyWay really achieves the best and really sets us apart from our competitors in the management space, it really is this one. It's our ability to have that high touch and highly personalized outreach. And excuse me, we have an entire team that manages personalized outreach strategies that are really dynamic, and they're ongoing throughout the employee's journey. We don't just send an email and say, hey, here's your WellOnMyWay, good luck. And we're doing that through a varied approach. So we use emails, text messages, in-portal messaging. We can send out mailers. We can do on-site events. Not every organization wants that, but we are really customized in the way that we can approach that. And we also use phone calls. And I always like to caveat that by saying we do have, you know, trained engagement specialists that manage that. That's not something that we ever outsource. You know, it takes a really delicate approach to making phone calls. I think that tiered approach that engages all of those different elements really has shown to be more successful at getting people engaged. And I should mention here that our analytics are running in the background there too. So our AI is capturing if, you know, because employees are going to vary in the way that they want to be communicated with too. So if someone is more apt to respond with text messages, then that informs the strategy moving forward as far as communication. So, I mean, it's really in depth, and we really have a great strategy and foundation set there. We fully manage the program and incentives for our clients. So you don't have to, but we do really encourage a collaborative relationship. So, you know, we have some clients that want to just kind of not have to deal with it, and that's fine as well. But we also welcome, you know, insight and talking about, you know, what the messaging should be, because you guys understand your employees better than anyone else. And we meet with our program partners frequently to review your reporting, to talk about goals, talk about engagement, and really make sure that we're all on the same page. And next, interactive technology is incredibly important. I feel like we're running short on time, so I'm gonna start talking faster. So do we need to wrap it up?
10 minutes.
Okay. So interactive technology is also really important. You know, if I use my Apple Watch every day, if you're not gathering that kind of information from your employees with some kind of digital solution, then you're just missing out on some opportunity. So through WellOnMyWay, people are able to log in and see their entire health and well-being offering. So if you have a financial solution, you have, well, I mean, we are providing these solutions, but you can see, I can complete my HRA, I can upload my biometric screening results, or if I've done an on-site one, I can access my results there. You know, you can access your health coaches. Everything is done through one place, one password. I don't know if you saw me over here trying to get logged in earlier. I was like, I don't remember the password. So to me, you know, one password is amazing. We're also very agile and customizable. So if you have a 401k offering that you want to be able to link, because again, we want people to not have to go to 20 different websites, we're happy to create a custom tile for you there as well. You know, if we provide different solutions, but if you have a well-being solution that you are just super committed to, you know, continuing to use, we can create a separate tile for them as well. We're happy to partner with your partners. And then taking a dynamic approach to programs and services. The best health and wellness programs out there are not super focused on just any one thing. I talked to someone yesterday, all they do is tobacco cessation. I mean, that's great, but it really does all come together. We know that people that a third of people with chronic medical conditions have higher risk of depression. On the flip side, people that have depression are more likely to develop serious illness, right? And it affects your, you know, financial stress comes into play as well. I have great statistics I'm going to read to you right quick. SHRM study recently showed that financial stress causes a 34% increase in employee absenteeism and tardiness. And Locked-In Retirement Services did a study that found that folks that were really struggling with high levels of stress around financial concerns were 4 times more likely to suffer from physical conditions than their peers who were not. So, you know, we talked about how social health really plays into depression and anxiety and the mental health factor. So all of these things are inextricably linked. So, you know, we can say that we want our employee population to lose weight. You know, I talked to some people and they're like, we have, you know, they all smoke and they're all overweight. But if, you know, if depression is a key factor or anxiety is a high key factor, trying to get somebody to stop smoking or, you know, commit to a fitness program is going to be really difficult. So we provide, you know, we have built in health and wellness. We, you know, provide chronic disease management for those that have chronic diseases. But if you don't, you know, we take a staggered approach. And again, we are encouraging you to participate in programs, to set goals, to meet milestones and complete programs. All of our health programs are supported by certified health coaches. And we also have kind of in a separate tile, injury prevention and recovery services as well. Mental and emotional health is built in for us. So that can be a really staggered approach where, you know, we send out an assessment and you're doing a lot of really in-house behavioral improvement type of therapies. We can also refer you out into a local provider for people that, you know, need a greater level of service. But mental health digital applications are really key these days. It allows people to access the care they need when they need it. Financial health, we also have that built in. It's going to provide people with, you know, a resource for education and strategies. They can chat with a certified financial planner on our site. A great way to just really help with the stress around financial health concerns. Social health is really a big concern. We have that built in as well. In 2 places really our challenges. I mentioned that we provide health challenges and fitness challenges. Within that, we can pal up with our coworkers and not, you know, maybe participate as teams in health and fitness challenges, but we can also challenge one another. You know, I could say like, SentryHealth isn't doing a big challenge this month, but hey, Matt, how about you and I getting a step challenge? And I bet I can walk more than you this month. Sorry, and then there's another thing, social connection. And then we have also something called social circles, which is kind of like almost like a social network for just within your organization talking about health and fitness type topics. So you could start a thread about healthy, sharing healthy recipes, or people can ask questions and you can respond. It's a really cool application. Again, just keep people connected with one another. And lastly, we're really excited about this. We haven't even released the press release about this yet, but we are going to be adding a medical advocacy program into WellOnMyWay very soon. It will be available this summer. I could talk about this for 15 minutes, and I know I'm out of time, but talk to me about it after class. I'm a yoga teacher, so it's always like after class. So talk to me about it later, but our medical and healthcare industry is just extremely difficult to navigate. And we tend to put our employees are just out there on their own. So, they're dealing with the insurance company or the TPA, depending on your situation. And they're also just having to trust that their health care providers have their best interest in mind. And really, at the end of the day, we know that they are not getting the best care at the most affordable cost the majority of the time. So that's where our care advocacy program really steps in, because we're not experts in healthcare. So we provide care advocacy. We help with things like pre-certification to make sure that all of the dots are touched and the T's are crossed, or whatever that saying is, to make sure that your paperwork's in place. But we also drive you toward the best care providers, right? If I need a knee surgery, my Baptist physician is going to send me to a Baptist physician, and he is not going to know which the best Baptist physician for the specific knee surgery I need is. And that's where our care advocacy program would come in. We also have a prescription cost savings management program, which alone can pay for the entire thing. We can get it for free or vastly reduced. We have to source those. And then lastly, we provide case management for people that have complex medical issues, which is a small percentage of your population. But guys, I can speak personally to this because I have a daughter that was born last year with several medical conditions, and I have just drowned in the healthcare system. I'm absenteeism blocking, right? Because I got to make a lot of phone calls during work hours. So it's a great program. Can save a lot of money to your organization and really just help your people so much. So with that, I'm going to kind of start to wrap it up. But when you pull those pieces together, when you're pulling together actionable insights, personalized approach, interactive technology, and dynamic programs and services, you really will have great outcomes. And I know that you guys have been doing this a long time. I'm preaching to the choir here. You guys know about health and well-being, but using a third-party provider like WellOnMyWay that can pull all those aspects together for you really will save you time and get you to the benefits that you're looking for a lot faster. So with that, I will stay as long as you want to answer questions. But I want to be mindful of your time, and I appreciate you guys. I know I went up a little bit over. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and otherwise, happy to talk to you. Everybody in the room has a business card. I can reach out to anybody that is joining us online. Thank you for being here. Questions?
Not so much a question, but thank you for bringing up social health. I think it's really important right now. People missed out on that connection last year, and more importantly, kind of missed out on a lot of fun opportunities. Yeah. So we've been bringing that back in by doing like online trivia nights. Yay. And I know like the whole happy hours were a big thing. Yeah. That just didn't work for us. So we played code names through Microsoft Teams. So we had a lot of like get-togethers within the company. And it wasn't just our own like HR team, it was everyone, which was neat. Yeah. And then we also got in things like an F45 fitness class that they, did it from home, and it was really cool. Anyone in the States could do it, which was nice. And we even had people in Poland participate. Nice. So that was really fun, and gave an outlet during the day for people to participate in different kinds of activities. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, no, I think that's such a great idea. This class is in the middle of the day, and let people get moving, and okay.
Speaking of happy hours, we're having one tomorrow, Friday, at Salinas. You all are welcome to come.
Oh yeah, Salinas.
We're in financial services, so that
5:30.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right. Does everybody know where Salinas is? It's a Little Lake Tavern.
Acreage.
Yeah. Weather's supposed to be perfect.
Oh, yeah, they got a nice.
Yeah. We're covering the drinks and the appetizers, so that's another reason.
Any other questions? or if anything comes up, you got my business card, we'll just talk with y'all. And thank you again, Worksite Wellness, for having me. You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Oh,
Candace, do we have?
there is one question. Oh, can someone give an example of virtual physical offerings that they've been successful with engagement? Like, how do you collect names of those participating if you want to reward their efforts?
So for me specifically, when we do the F45 classes, this probably isn't a great way to do it, but I go through on like who's actually signed in and they have their names listed. And I just take attendance that way. I think there's a way to pull, depending on what, like if you're using Zoom or Microsoft Teams, there's a way to pull attendance. Or you can ask them to just reach out to you if you say like a code word in the event, and then have them email you that code word to prove that they were there.
Some of the companies that I've worked with, what they do is they have to pre-register. Let's say, for example, it was a webinar or even an exercise class. They have to pre-register. And once they're pre-registered, you can then on Zoom and go to meetings, see when they log in and how long they were there. So you can see if they were there 10 minutes, you can see if they were there the hour, and you've got that list.
And I mean, also, you don't, I mean, I guess it just depends on the program that you're running, but sometimes you don't even have to take attendance. You can just take people's word for it. I mean, that's kind of where we're at these days, I feel like.
People are honest.
Yeah.
Don't
make it
try not
harder.
to cheat wellness.
Yeah, I mean, if you want people to participate, you need it to be accessible and easy and simple. Otherwise, they're not going to participate.
I agree.
And speaking of social wellness, I know not all companies or groups are able to do this now, but kind of to Greg's point, and then even within our chiropractic office that I do part-time with my corporate wellness, you know, we've had now some in-person sessions. I was really concerned about how it would go versus classes and patient appreciation type events. And people are wanting to do this. Like they are coming, they are hanging out because they just want that connection. So if your company is able to do that, I highly recommend doing some in-person things because people are wanting it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, May 7th, we had an open house at our new building that we purchased. We had over 300 people come by. And I mean, we had some stuff set up. We had some games for the kids. We had a snow cone truck. I think that's what brought most people out here. We gave them some barbecue. So we had over 300 people. And it wasn't just clients of ours, you know, some people from the surrounding community, the business community.
They're ready.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah, they thanked us like 11 times. Thanks for having us. And we were lucky the weather was perfect. May the 7th, we're taking chances.
Yeah.